The night was quiet at the human research station. Ethan, a technician in his 30s, walked slowly across the empty courtyard. He was checking the lights, wires, and doors like he did every evening. Most of the staff had already gone to sleep. Only the soft humming of machines filled the air. The pool was closed. No one used it anymore since the last experiment ended. A warning sign was still posted. Hazard, deep water. Ethan walked past it every night. Nothing ever happened there until tonight. Splash. Ethan froze. The water rippled. He turned fast, eyes wide. What was that? There was no wind, no animals, and no one was supposed to be out here. He stepped closer to the pool's edge. The ripples were growing. Suddenly, something small broke the surface. A hand, a tiny silver hand. Then it vanished again. Without thinking, Ethan threw off his jacket and jumped in. The water was cold and dark. It was deeper than most pools, built for alien physiology tests. He dove downward, eyes open. Through the blur, he saw movement, a small shape sinking, wrapped in what looked like netting or wires. He reached her. Yes, her. She was tiny, with glowing skin, small limbs, and a face that looked both childlike and alien. Her eyes were shut. Bubbles rose from her mouth. Ethan grabbed her carefully and kicked toward the surface. He broke through, gasping for air, holding her close. She wasn't breathing. He pulled her out of the pool and laid her on the ground. The girl was cold and limp. Her skin was smooth like polished glass, tinted soft blue. She wore torn fabric and had a thin metal collar around her neck. No. Come on. Ethan pressed gently on her chest and started CPR. He didn't know her species, but he had learned basic rescue steps for aliens in his training. Breathe, he begged. A second passed, then another. Suddenly, cough. She spat out water. Her eyes opened, big, round, and glowing silver. She stared at him with panic and tried to sit up. It's okay, Ethan said, raising his hands. You're safe. Now you're okay. She screamed. It wasn't a loud sound. It was high and sharp like a wounded bird. She tried to crawl back, but her body was too weak. Hey, I'm not here to hurt you. Please calm down. Her hands trembled. She looked around like she expected someone to grab her. Ethan noticed something strange. The collar around her neck had a glowing tag on it. Unit 481. No name, just a number. Ethan felt anger rise in his chest. She's not a thing. She's a child. He looked around. No cameras, no footsteps. For now, they were alone. He took off his hoodie and gently placed it around her. She flinched again, but didn't push it away. It's okay, he said softly. I don't know who you are, but I won't let anyone hurt you. Her breathing slowed, but her eyes never left him. She didn't speak. Maybe she didn't know how, or maybe she was too scared. Ethan stood up and looked around. He had to get her out of here before someone else saw. He lifted her carefully in his arms. She was feather light, barely the weight of a backpack. I'll take you somewhere warm, he said. He took her to the old supply room behind the mechanical lab. It was dusty, full of unused parts, and rarely visited. Ethan set her down on a stack of blankets. She shivered but didn't resist. He gave her water. She drank slowly, still staring at him. Then, soft thudding in the distance. Footsteps. Voices. Someone was searching. Ethan closed the supply room door and whispered, "Stay quiet." The alien girl nodded. Her small hands held the water cup tightly, and for the first time she looked less afraid, just tired, very tired. As Ethan stood there, watching her slowly drift into sleep, he realized one thing clearly. She didn't belong here, not in a cage, not in a pool, not in fear, and he would not let her be taken again, not while he was alive. The old storage room was silent. Ethan sat on a crate, watching the small alien girl sleep under his hoodie. Her breathing was soft and slow. The collar on her neck still blinked faint light. Unit number 481. He didn't know what she was, or where she came from, But one thing was clear. Someone had put that collar on her.
And it wasn't out of love. The door creaked slightly as the cold wind passed through a crack in the wall. The girl stirred. Her eyes opened fast, wide, alert. She sat up quickly and backed against the wall, as if she had forgotten where she was. "It's
Okay," Ethan said quietly. "It's me. Remember?" She stared at him like a cornered animal. Ethan didn't move. He held up both hands. "You're safe." Her eyes dropped to her collar. She touched it and looked away. A tear slipped down her cheek. Ethan stepped back slowly and picked up a thermos. "You must be hungry," he said. "I brought soup." She didn't respond. He placed the bowl on the floor and gently slid it toward her. She sniffed it, looked up at him, then picked it up with both hands. She drank. Slowly, carefully, like she hadn't eaten properly in a long time. Ethan noticed something strange. She wasn't just scared of him. She was scared of everything, the shadows, the door, even her own breath. What had she gone through? He spoke gently. "My name is Ethan." She tilted her head, confused. He pointed at himself. "Ethan." She hesitated, then touched her own chest, but she didn't say a name. Instead, she looked down and pointed to the collar. "Unit number 481. Ethan's chest tightened. "That's not a name," he said. "That's a number. You're more than a number." She didn't understand the words, but somehow she seemed to understand the feeling. The next morning, Ethan carefully left her with some food and slipped out to do his duties. If anyone saw him acting strange, they'd start asking questions. He cleaned floors, checked systems, and pretended everything was normal. But his heart stayed back in that cold little room. When he returned hours later, he feared she'd be gone. But she was still there, sitting in the corner, drawing in the dust with her finger. Shapes, waves, circles, and something that looked like fish. "You like water?" Ethan asked. She looked up, nodded slowly. Then she drew a figure in a cage, and then another cage, and another, each with a smaller version of herself inside. Ethan got the message. She had been moved around, from cage to cage, from one place to another, maybe sold, maybe tested, but always trapped. That night, there was a knock on the main door of the facility. 3 men in black suits stepped inside. No smiles, no greetings. One of them showed a badge. "We're here on inspection. Clearance 9. Ethan watched from the hallway. His stomach dropped. These weren't inspectors. These were hunters. They had scanners and collars. He rushed back to the storage room and shut the door. The alien girl looked up at him with wide eyes. "We need to hide you better," he said. She didn't understand the words, but she understood his face. Danger. She stood up shakily, ready to move. Ethan opened the floor panel under an old desk. It led to a crawl space, used for wires and maintenance years ago. He helped. Her climbed down, wrapped a blanket around her, and whispered, "Don't come out until I say." She nodded, and then did something unexpected. She touched his hand. Gently, just for a second, then vanished into the dark. Ethan closed the panel just as footsteps echoed down the hallway. A voice called, "Anyone in here?" He opened the door and smiled calmly. "Just old junk." The men looked around, but didn't enter. "Be careful," one said. "Strange things have been reported near this sector." "I'll keep an eye out," Ethan lied. When they left, he locked the door behind them and leaned against it, heart pounding. This was no longer just about helping a scared girl. It was about protecting someone who had no one else. That night, when he opened the panel again, the girl was still curled inside. She looked up at him, not with fear, but something softer. "Trust," he whispered. "I don't know your name, but I'll keep you safe." And for the first time, she smiled. Days passed. The tiny alien girl was still hidden inside the storage room. Ethan made sure she had food, clean water, and warm blankets. She never spoke a word, but her eyes said more than any language. Every day, Ethan stayed a little longer. He brought her simple things, a children's book, a glowing light crystal, even a soft scarf. She didn't laugh, not yet. But she no longer trembled when he walked in. She had stopped seeing him as a threat. Now she watched him with soft eyes. Curious. One afternoon, Ethan brought her a small mirror. She held it like it was magic, studying her own face for minutes. Then she gave it back as if unsure she was allowed to keep it. "You can have it," he smiled. She blinked slowly, then nodded. Ethan sat beside her and pointed at himself. "Ethan," she repeated. Then. His eyes lit up. "Yes," she pointed at herself. Then paused. She touched the collar on her neck. Ethan gently shook his head. "No, not that." "What's your name?" She looked confused, then pressed her palm to the floor. She began drawing with her finger in the dust. First, waves. Then, creatures like fish. Then a symbol, like a swirl. Ethan watched closely. He whispered, "Ocean." She pointed to her chest again. Realization hit him. "That's your name?" She nodded once. "Ocean," he repeated. She smiled. That night, Ethan had a dream. A strange one. He saw her, Ocean, floating in deep blue water. Her skin glowed softly. Her eyes sparkled. She sang a song, but he couldn't hear the words. He woke up sweating. He felt something pulling him, a question inside him. Where did she come from? He needed answers. The next morning, Ethan led her quietly to the abandoned testing pool, the same one where he had found her. It was empty now. The water was calm. Ocean hesitated at first, but then walked to the edge. She knelt down, placed both palms on the surface, and closed her eyes. Suddenly, the water began to glow. Ethan stepped back. "What the?" A soft light rose beneath the surface, not from above, from below. Ocean's hands moved gently, almost dancing. Symbols appeared, in the water like language made of light. A circle, then 2 moons, then what looked like a gate. "She's showing me something," Ethan whispered. He pulled out his old hollow tablet and recorded the glowing symbols. Ocean turned to him and touched her chest, then pointed at the pool, then to the stars. She was trying to tell him something. She came from beyond, not just another country or base, another planet and the pool. It wasn't just water to her. It was like home. Later, back in the storage room, Ethan showed her a star map, a digital one from his old files. "Where?" he asked. Ocean scanned the display, then pointed to a cluster of stars in the corner. "Here?" he asked. She nodded. Ethan zoomed in. That zone was marked unmapped sector, dangerous. No ships were allowed there. No one had ever returned. He looked at her. "You came from a place no one dares visit." She didn't respond, but her eyes were heavy with memories. That night, someone knocked on the lab door again. Not the black-suited men this time, it was a higher-ranking officer. "Ethan," the man said, "we detected strange energy signals from the pool last night. Do you know anything?" Ethan lied smoothly. "Must be leftover tech still running. I'll check the system logs." "Do that," the officer said. "And Ethan, if you see anything unusual, report it immediately." Of course. As soon as the door closed, Ethan ran back to Ocean. He, "Chew," whispered. "They're getting closer. We don't have much time." Ocean looked up at him and did something she had never done before. She touched his face, just for a second. Then she spoke. Only one word. "Friend." Ethan felt something. Warm rise in his chest. He smiled. "Yes, friend." But deep inside he knew the truth. This wasn't just a rescue. It was the beginning of something bigger. She wasn't safe here, and soon, someone far more dangerous would come looking for her. The wind howled outside the facility walls. Inside, it was quiet. Too quiet. Ethan sat by the storage room door, his ear pressed against the cold metal. Something felt wrong. Ocean sat curled under the old desk. Her glowing eyes were watching him, full of quiet fear. Suddenly alarms beeped on the outer security screen. Unauthorized ship landing. Zone B. Ethan's heart dropped. They found us, he whispered. He grabbed the old tablet and checked the feed. 3 black ships had landed near the back entrance. The same kind of ships that belonged to recovery units. The same ones that went after escapees. Ocean's collar blinked red for the first time. She trembled. Ethan turned to her. Listen to me, no sound, no movement, hide under the floor, okay? Ocean crawled into the crawl space. Before he closed the hatch, she reached up. Her small hand brushed his sleeve. She didn't say a word, but her eyes said, "Please don't let them take me." Ethan moved fast. He left the storage room, walked calmly through the halls, and acted like everything was normal. When the black-suited hunters entered, he was waiting near the control room. "Problem?" he asked, trying to stay cool. One of them flashed a cold smile. "You tell us." They carried scanners, ones that could detect alien DNA. The leader tapped a screen and showed him the signal. "Something was here," the man said. "Not long ago." Ethan shrugged. "We get weird signals all the time. Old tech, damaged drones, nothing new." The man didn't look convinced. "We'll be searching the facility." Ethan nodded slowly. "Go ahead. I'll show you around." Room by room they walked, but Ethan kept them away from the storage wing. He used excuses. "That side's unstable, might collapse. Last worker who went in there broke his leg." The leader paused. "Fine. We'll scan it later." Inside the crawl space, Ocean was holding her breath. She had her hands over her mouth. The red light on her collar had turned blue. Silent mode. She had learned something from her time running. She knew how to hide. But her heart was beating like a drum. She could hear the boots, the voices, the word terminate, spoken in low tones. Tears slipped down her face. Back in the main hallway, one of the hunters stopped near an old painting. He turned to Ethan. "You're a good liar." Ethan kept still. "What makes you think I'm lying?" The man stepped closer. "Because you didn't even ask what we were hunting." Ethan smiled thinly. "I figured if it was dangerous, I'd hear the screaming by now." The man didn't laugh. Instead, he turned and gave a sharp nod. "We'll be back, with clearance to tear the place apart." As they left, Ethan's smile faded. They would be back, and next time no lie would be enough. That night he returned to the storage room. He opened the floor. Ocean climbed out, shaking but safe. He dropped to his knees and hugged her. She stiffened, then hugged him back, just once. "Just enough," Ethan whispered. "We have to move you." Ocean looked at him confused. He pointed to the stars on the old chart. "We need to find someone who can get you home." But Ocean reached out and drew in the dust again. A planet, a gate, a large X. She pointed at the X, then to herself, then shook her head. Ethan stared. "Your home is gone?" She nodded slowly. He sat back, stunned. "You have nowhere to go?" Ocean didn't reply. She just leaned against the wall, tired, cold, and small. Ethan stood. "Then we build something new." She looked up. "I don't care who you are," he said, "or what they call you. You're not a number. You're Ocean, and I'll protect you." She gave the smallest smile, but it meant everything. Later that night, Ethan walked to the edge of the pool. He stared into the glowing water and whispered, "What are you really?" Behind him, Ocean stepped into the moonlight. Her skin shimmered softly in the blue light. Her eyes glowed like tiny stars, and for the first time, Ethan saw it. She wasn't just a child. She was something ancient, something lost. And if the hunters came again, they wouldn't just be after a runaway. They'd be coming for something powerful. That night, the pool whispered. Ethan couldn't sleep. Ocean stood silently by the edge of the deep, dark water. Her toes touched the surface like it called to her. The ripples danced around her small feet, glowing faint blue under the moonlight. Ethan watched from the shadows. He didn't want to interrupt whatever this was. Ocean bent down and touched the surface. The light spread. A circle formed. Then symbols. Then a door. But there was no door in the water. Not one a human could see. Suddenly her body began to glow, soft and faint, like moonlight caught in glass. Ethan stepped forward. Ocean? She didn't turn. The pool responded to her like it knew her, or maybe remembered her. She whispered something in her language. Ethan couldn't understand, but the water did. From beneath the surface, a beam of light burst upward like a lighthouse. Ethan shielded his eyes. What is this? When he looked again, Ocean had collapsed by the pool's edge. He ran to her. Ocean. Her body was shaking. Weak. Cold. But alive. Ethan wrapped her in his coat and carried her back inside. She opened her eyes briefly and said one word. Awakening. Then she fainted. Hours passed. Ethan checked her pulse. Normal. Her breathing. Shallow. But steady. He looked at the pool from the window. That wasn't just water. It was a gate, or a lock, and Ocean had just unlocked something. The next morning the sky was strange. Birds didn't fly. The air felt heavy. And the soldiers returned, this time with a full scan crew. Ethan opened the door and blocked their way. You don't have clearance to enter today, the commander didn't smile. We do now. They pushed past him and entered the base. But the moment they stepped near the pool, everything changed. Machines shut down. The ground shook. The water bubbled. One of the soldiers shouted, Something's coming up! They all backed away as a shape rose from the center of the pool. It was not metal, not machine. It was a structure, like a tower, carved from glowing white stone, covered in markings. Ancient. Alive. The commander whispered. Is that alien tech? One scanner burst in his hand. Another drone caught fire mid-air. Fall back, he ordered. Seal the site. But before they could retreat, she appeared. Ocean stepped forward, eyes glowing, collar broken. Not by force, by choice. It had cracked in two and fallen at her feet. The power inside her was no longer hidden. Ethan ran to her. You're not supposed to be up. She held out her hand. The soldiers raised their weapons. Ocean didn't move. The water behind her rose like a wall, still glowing. I said stand down. The commander barked. One soldier fired. The shot didn't reach the water, blocked it, and sent it flying back. Ethan grabbed Ocean's hand. Let's go. But Ocean looked at him calm and said softly, They must see. She stepped forward, not as a child, not as a refugee, as something more. The pool tower began to pulse with light, and then a voice echoed, not from Ocean's mouth, but from the pool itself. Guardian recognized. Vessel repaired. Defense awakening. All soldiers dropped their weapons. Some ran. Ocean looked at Ethan. I didn't remember before, but now I do. I was not just lost. I was hidden. Hidden from who? Ethan asked. She looked to the stars. The ones who fear me. Ethan felt his skin grow cold. What are you? He whispered. Ocean gave a soft smile. The last of the deep-born. He didn't know what that meant. But he knew one thing. This girl wasn't just someone he saved. She might be the only thing standing between Earth and something coming. The news spread fast. Something had risen from the water. A tower, a light, a girl. Not human, not weapon. Something older. And the people who once hunted her were now afraid. Ocean sat on the floor of the storage room. Her legs were crossed, eyes closed. Her breathing was slow. The glow in her veins had faded for now. Ethan sat nearby, holding a metal tablet, his face pale. She's not just a runaway alien, he said to himself. She's something legendary. He flipped through old restricted files, half-deleted documents left on the facility's backup systems. One name kept returning, Project Abysslight. It was never finished, because the subject disappeared. Stolen, or set free. The picture in the file showed a glowing child, small and silver-skinned. Ocean. Outside, chaos ruled. The soldiers had left, but they weren't done. Bigger things were coming now. Not bounty hunters, not collectors, but machines. Cold, silent, controlled by something far away. They called them retrievers, and one was already on its way. Ethan stood by the pool, staring into the quiet water. How do I protect someone they all want? He whispered. Behind him, Ocean spoke. You don't. He turned, surprised. You should be resting. She shook her head. I remember now. Why they fear me. She stepped toward him, her voice soft but strong. There was once a war under the stars, a war of minds, of water against fire, of silence against machines. I was born from the last deep ocean on my world, the last song, the last power. They thought they killed us, but I was hidden here, inside your world. Ethan swallowed. You were a weapon? She paused. No, she said. I was a key. That night the moon turned red. Ethan and Ocean ran. They knew the machines would find them soon. They packed only what they needed. Tools, wires, scraps of tech. Ethan brought his father's old hoverbike. Not fast, he said, but strong. Ocean climbed behind him, holding tight. They sped into the forest. The lights of the city faded. The wind howled, but the danger followed. They reached a hidden cave by morning. Inside was an old escape pod, half buried, broken, forgotten. Ocean placed her hand on it. The pod lit up, responding to her touch. It remembers me, she said. Ethan dropped to his knees and opened the side panel. Wires sparked. Circuits dead. We need power, and we need time. Ocean nodded. We don't have either. Far above them, in orbit, something opened its metal eyes. The retriever, locked on its target. Ocean and Ethan worked fast. He used parts. From his hoverbike, from his old toolkit, even from his flashlight. Ocean sat nearby, whispering to the pod in her language. Suddenly, the cave shook. A long sound echoed, deep, like thunder, but not from the sky, from below. The retriever is here, Ocean said. Ethan looked at her. Can this pod fly? Not yet. Then we fight. He pulled out a tiny EMP device, old, unstable, but dangerous. Ocean raised her hand. No, I will stop it. You're a kid, he said. You shouldn't fight alone. I'm not a kid anymore. Her voice didn't shake. The light returned to her eyes. The glow in her skin grew bright. The retriever broke through the cave wall, massive, silver, full of blades and lights. Ethan raised the EMP. Ocean stepped forward and sang. A wave of sound filled the cave, not loud but deep, like the ocean itself was speaking. The retriever froze. Its limbs twitched. It shook violently, then shattered. One note, one voice, one memory of the deep, and it was over. Ethan stared at her, stunned. Ocean turned to him, tears in her eyes. They will send more. Then we'll run, he said. Or fight. She shook her head. No, we go home, to the stars. The pod lit up behind them. Ready. The stars were waiting. Ethan stood at the edge of the old cave, watching the sky slowly shift from night to day. Orange clouds rolled above the treetops. But he wasn't watching the sunrise. He was listening, for machines, for boots, for danger. Nothing came. Behind him, the broken alien pod now pulsed with life. Ocean had repaired it, piece by piece, like a puzzle only she could solve. The glowing girl sat beside the ship, her fingers on the soft controls. She looked stronger, calmer, but her eyes were full of sadness. "Ethan," she whispered. "It's ready." He turned. "Are you?" Ocean nodded slowly. "It will take me home." Ethan stepped closer. "Will your people be there?" She looked down. "I don't know. Maybe none of them survived." He was silent. "But I must go. I have to find out. If even one deep-born remains, I have to try." She placed her small silver hand on his. "You saved me, when no one else would. I wish I could give you something." "You already did," he said with a smile. "You gave me purpose." They stood in silence as the pod opened. A ramp slid down. Warm blue light spilled onto the stone floor. Ocean turned to go, but paused. Her voice was soft. "Come with me." Ethan blinked. "What?" She looked up. "You don't belong here either. You fix what's broken. You care. Maybe you're meant for the stars too." Ethan laughed nervously. "I'm just a repair guy." She tilted her head. "And I'm just a girl, but we survived more than most." Suddenly, a beep echoed through the cave. Ocean's face turned serious. "They're coming. More retrievers. Faster ones." "How long till launch?" Ethan asked. "Seconds." He looked at the cave mouth. He looked at her, and without another word, he stepped inside the pod. Ocean smiled. "Good." The ramp closed. The pod rose, shaking dust and rock from the ceiling, and then it shot upward, through trees, clouds, and sky, leaving Earth behind. From space, Earth looked peaceful, but Ethan's heart beat fast. Ocean guided the ship with hands that glowed like starlight. She spoke to the pod like it was alive. "Where do we go?" he asked. "Not far," she said. "Just far enough." "To home?" She looked at him and nodded. "But I think home is not a place anymore," she said gently. "It's someone." Ethan looked at her for a long moment, then smiled. "Then I guess I'm home too." As the stars spread out before them, and Earth faded behind, Ocean whispered one last thing. "I was drowning. And you didn't just save me. You gave me a new life."